4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
Welcome.
She just
I'm sorry. I'm Lovey. No, I'm not. I'm Snooks.
Okay, take 2. Welcome to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And she must be drunk. But
Wow,
I'm gonna say
I'm not drunk Snooks right now.
No, that's a whole other thing.
That's a different podcast.
But we want to welcome everybody back to the podcast. And you can be doing so many other things. And we're so happy to be back on the mic talking to you because some stuff has been going on around here. So California, last time we spoke, last Friday, there was an earthquake here in California. It was last Friday.
Yeah, it was centered in Lake Tahoe, I think.
It was like the Nevada, Northern California area.
Mm-hmm.
And what was crazy was I had just got home. I mean, literally just arrived home, and I sat down to do some more work. And Snooks, we don't usually get home about the same time, but we got home at the same time. We were in the office. I was sitting down. She was standing up.
I was talking.
And then I had my arm on the table, and I looked at her real quick. I was like, "Did you just feel that?"
And I was like, "Feel what?" He's like, "I think we just had an earthquake."
And she was like, "No, I felt nothing." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure something just happened. I mean, I felt it." And then I thought, okay, well, maybe it was in my head. Maybe it was all in my mind. And then I went on Instagram, and then I went on Facebook, and everyone was talking about earthquake. And
so Lovey came in the family room. He was like, "It was an earthquake. It was a 5.6, something like that." And I was sitting there. I was like, "Okay."
That's what they said originally, but it ended up being it was a 6.0.
Yeah.
It was a 6.0, but it was like a series of little ones. And luckily, it was in a place that's not like massively inhabited. There wasn't buildings. No, nothing got destroyed as far as I know.
I was going to say, do you know that for sure?
But do you know how many people came out the woodworks? All the friends that live outside California.
I know, but yeah.
It's crazy. I had cousins in Virginia, had people across the United States talking about, see, that's why I don't move to California. Ain't no way I'm going to live in California. Y'all got earthquakes.
But you have a hurricane or a tornado or some kind of season.
Right. Monsoons and all that. I'm like, See, here's the difference. In California, even though we don't know the earthquakes, let me put it this way. Where we live in California, we're pretty much insulated. Anything that happens, because we live in the Sacramento Valley or Central Valley, it's really the Sacramento Valley. Things happen, but we barely feel it. I have a friend, shout out to Scotty Silva. This fool ran out his building. Talking about, it's earthquake. Evacuated the building, all that. And I told him, it's California, homie. You just need to lay on the ground and get that California massage. Because where we live, that's all it pretty much amounts to.
Well, but I mean, I don't know. Just having experienced, and I know that there are a lot of people have experienced it. I still remember the 1989, the big one that happened, and I was living in the Bay Area, and that's where it was. So, you know, a lot of people, they're, as soon as they feel that shake, you're like, and you just kind of wig out, you know.
Our daughter, our 18-year-old, she was in Stockton. There were some decent tremors, I guess, that happened near Stockton as well. And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so afraid. I can't drive."
She didn't want to drive home. So I was like, "So did you feel the earthquake?" She was like, "No, I didn't feel it, but my coworker felt it." And I was like, "Why are you tripping? You didn't even feel the earthquake, but now you're afraid to drive home." "Well, I don't want to drive home." And then something happened, and it was just funny to me. And I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this girl."
I'll tell you how funny it is. If you were not sitting somewhere and had your arm up on a table or something stationary, you didn't feel it. If you were walking, you didn't notice it. If you were driving, you didn't notice it. It was at least not in the area that we were in. So it was just interesting. It's funny though. I will say this. My mind went there in the very beginning where I said that Snooks and I were in the same room. I'm sitting down. I felt it. And I looked and I said, did you feel that? It was an earthquake. And she said, I didn't feel a thing. And my mind immediately went to, are we talking about sex or are we talking about earthquakes? I was like, okay,
silly.
I don't know if I like this conversation. Oh man,
you are silly. You're so silly.
Oh my goodness.
There's so many ways I could just add on to
leave
that.
It alone. Leave it alone.
I'm totally leaving it alone.
So one thing I said that we're going to start doing on the podcast is starting to read some of the reviews as well as emails that we receive, and not just when they're asking us questions. So there's one that came through. That was I don't know, it was like a couple of weeks ago. I ended up getting an email, and this was a random email that came into it's a random email that came into our email.
All right.
Yeah, it couldn't be more redundant than that.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. So this is from TJ. And by the way, TJ, if you're listening, thank you so much. It'll be a while before you catch up to this particular episode. But here we go. It says, my aunt told me about your podcast a few months ago. My boyfriend and I were going through it and still are, so she thought that I would appreciate a particular podcast. I do not remember which podcast it was, but I knew after listening, I needed to listen to more. I started the podcast from the beginning and have thoroughly enjoyed it. I listen to it while I am working out on my walks. I am currently listening to podcasts from this time last year. I'm going to get caught up on them all because I don't want to miss a nugget. She had like a little smiling emoji there. I appreciate your story, your vulnerability, and I love your interaction with each other. You two individually and your relationship are very inspiring. I thought that was really nice.
That's very nice. Thank you so much, TJ.
I hope he didn't just put you on blast. I hope your boyfriend don't listen.
You know what? Stop.
I didn't mean to put it out like that, like, oh, we're going through it. But anyway, TJ, we think it's amazing that you would take the time to sit down.
Lovey can't hold water. Sorry.
I really can't. Don't tell me a secret. If you don't want the world to know. I don't know how many times we got called out by my
by our sister.
My sister-in-law. She was like, the one we talked about in Jamaica where she just took over and had to run things. Yeah, there was some. She's like, you said my name. You weren't supposed to say my name. That was like 2 years ago when we first started, but we learn as we go, sort of.
You said her name. I never said it. So
I was like, my bad. He don't listen anyway. But look, we love to have fun, but you know what we also love to do is have interaction with each and every one of you. So the easiest way to do that is if you would right now go to wherever you're listening, primarily if you're listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Levy on Apple Podcast, please go there, leave a 5-star review, and you know what? Leave 5 stars and leave a review. I kind of threw it all in one. I was like, wait a minute, there was something else. No, I combined it. I'm on one today.
That's what you get for talking about me when we first started. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. But definitely go there and do that, please. Mm-hmm. So
let me say something. I have a bone to pick, and I'm gonna keep it cool because I don't want to be, just kind of throwing companies under the bus or whatever. So where we live, there was a sandwich place and an ice cream place connected together. You go in, you can get a sandwich and you can get your ice cream. I don't know what happened, but the ice cream place was replaced with a different ice cream place. And I was not happy at all. And I kept saying, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Well, was it Saturday?
Right. And mind you, all this time I've been saying, let's just give it a try.
It was Sunday. I
kept saying, let's give it a try. And she was like, nope, I ain't going.
So it was 109 here. So I was just like, I really, really want some ice cream. He was like, well, let's go. You want to go get some? And we like Cold Stone also, but Cold Stone is not located where we are. And I was like, babe, he's like, I'll go get it. And I was like, that's okay. Because I didn't really want him to drive out there. if he would have just drove out there anyway, instead of keep saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I would have just loved that. But I felt bad because I really wanted him to drive out there, but I wanted him to just be like, "Don't worry about it. I got you." But Lovey didn't say that.
I
So
said, we're going to support the local business.
okay, so we get in there. Oh, oh, I
Mind
was
you,
just like,
we've been here 16 years. We've lived here 16 years. And the place that we used to go into, always professional.
well, okay. Yes, always professional. I mean, not that they weren't professional, but they just were kind of dismissive. But let's just start out with the board. You know, when you walk in and you see the board and it tells you the flavors and it tells you the Sundays and it tells you the kind of Sundays and all this different stuff. That was missing. Well, there was a board there, but as far as I'm concerned, it could have been just a little whiteboard when they could have just wrote on it. And
which would have been fine if it was like a little tiny mom and pop place, which it kind of is, but
no, it ain't. That's not a mom and pop place.
Anyway
is right. I was already, when they said go with your gut, I was like, no, I ain't. So looking at the ice cream, you know how they keep the ice cream in the little the thingy, whatever it is, with the freezer part where you can see through the glass and you can pick what you want. Mm-mm. Why the ice cream looked like it was sitting there for 10 days? I mean, it looked old. It looked nasty. The top of it, some of it looked like it was like the shiny kind of.
If you've ever seen ice cream melt and then be refrozen,
yeah,
it's exactly what it was. I'm not even gonna say that's what it looked like. That's exactly what it was.
I was like, oh, and I wanted to leave and just be like, no, but then Lovey was like, okay, give it a chance. So I had to pick ice cream that didn't look like it melted and was refrozen again. So got two different types of ice cream, and the guy who was making the ice cream, I was like, did he wash his hands? But he had gloves on. But just his whole energy when he was putting my ice cream in the cup, I didn't like the energy. I was just like, nope, and it tasted it like it was bad energy ice cream.
Oh, bad energy ice cream.
It was horrible.
Ooh, bad. Okay, I've never had bad energy ice cream, though. To be completely honest with you, when I got my sundae, that would qualify as bad energy.
Because I was like, what is that?
It was just, look, I don't want to put anybody on blast more than we already have. That's why we're really trying not to say any names.
I would say
because everyone has a bad day. But this was just, man, I'm not going to say hard pressed. The sandwich place we really like. If we want a sandwich, that's generally one of the places that we go. And I can honestly say that we probably won't be going there. Just because, I mean, it had holes all up in the shirt. It was like, it's supposed to be like the work shirt. And it was, I don't know. The presentation was just off.
Yeah, the presentation was very off.
And of course, as we're driving home, she's looking at me like,
I told you. I didn't say it. I just looked.
You know how when somebody doesn't need to say it, they just look at you, and that look says, I told you.
Look.
She even raised her eyebrows. I already know. I'm thinking I should just listen to you. I should drove to another city and gotten what she wanted originally.
I was so upset. I'm like, this is a waste of calories.
A waste of calories.
Yeah. With the bad energy ice cream.
Okay. We're just going. Okay. Moving along.
Go ahead. Go. So there was something that we did on Saturday. So we were movie buffs prior to COVID. And so now I'm getting all my movies in and all my popcorn. I'm loving it. We went and saw Black Widow. It was so awesome and so amazing because you know the Marvel music, and everybody just has to know Marvel music, and you just get all excited. The movie was so good. There wasn't a whole lot of people in there, but more and more people starting to come, and I'm like, this is our theater. Y'all get out.
Pretty much. But the nice thing is that people are starting to get back out and hopefully move beyond COVID and start to really support the businesses that are out there, even the ones that serve you bad energy ice cream. You get out there, and it was just really nice to go see it. The movie was fantastic. The
movie was great, you guys. It was really good.
It was nice, and there was still social distancing. So even though that we got our tickets online, it was set up in such a way that even when you got it, it automatically, unbeknownst to us, had separated. There's always an open chair between different parties that were making the purchase of the ticket. So I thought that was really cool as well. Are we done giving updates?
Yeah, I guess. Anyway.
Hey, one of the things I want to talk about, there's certain things that can cause what?
I was gonna say, don't make this a bad energy podcast.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna be the new thing now. Bad energy ice cream, bad energy podcast.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Look, there are bad energy marriages.
Oh.
And some of that bad energy can come from doing certain things, right? That can actually predict the possibility of having a divorce.
Okay.
So as you can tell, we are, for lack of a better phrase, we're kind of like disciples, if you will, of the Gottman Institute. As you know, Snooks and I have both completed our level 1 training with the Gottman Institute, specifically with the Gothid couples therapy training that they do. And we're going to complete level 2 in the next several months. We're just taking our time. But there's a lot of phenomenal training. And if you aren't familiar with it, the Gottman Institute is the foremost authority when it comes to relationships in the world. And when we first started doing a podcast and we had the idea of becoming marriage coaches, people asked out of the blue, like, are you using the Gottman method? And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know what the Gottman method was.
What is that? Because no.
So enough people had asked in the beginning, we're like, well, let me figure out what this Gottman thing is. Mm-hmm. So we went and checked it out. I'm like, oh, I feel dumb for not knowing, but it's amazing what you learn over time. And anyway, one of the things, there was an article that was written a while back by Dr. John Gottman, and we think it's really relevant for us to go through now. We talk about the bad energy ice cream, bad energy marriages, the 6 things that can really put bad energy into your relationship and predict divorce, or things that we want to talk about today. Mm-hmm. So the most obvious indicator that a conflict, because we all know that conflict is going to be there. We've said this multiple times. You know this, that conflict is always going to be a part of your relationship. Mm-hmm. It is. That's just because we're human beings and we're alive. There's going to be conflict. Right. But the obvious indicator that a conflict discussion is not going to go well is the way it begins. Right. So the number one indicator, or the number one thing that's going to predict a divorce, or that you're on a trajectory towards divorce, is what we call a harsh startup. So a harsh startup, do you know what a harsh startup is?
Yeah, when it starts out bad. I mean, so there's a disagreement, and instead of, it's like it doesn't work its way from 0 to 10. It just starts at 10. And that means there's the loud talking, the aggression, the just the way you guys are, the communication between you, maybe name calling, whatever. If it starts out like that, it's not gonna end well.
There have been times in our relationship early on where you just wake up pissed off. Wake up angry, and that's how you start your day, and your day is going to be just really bad from then on out. That's what a harsh startup is in a relationship.
So basically, it's the I woke up on the wrong side of the bed kind of thing.
But but apply it to communication. Right. And it's like from there was that movie says, oh, you had me at, what was that? Pretty Woman. You had me at high. You had me at hello. Whatever. Is that the phrase?
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice way of saying, something. But the harsh startup is, yeah, you lost me at.
As soon as you open your mouth.
Right. You lost me at hello.
Yeah.
Because that hello was, hey. And instead of saying hello. And it was just, you know what? I was thinking about it. And, when you said this the other day, it kind of pissed me off. And it's like, okay. And that's the start of the conversation.
Right. You're like, what? I said a lot of things.
That is the harsh startup. Like you open your mouth. You came with the intent to fight. Mm-hmm. The intent to inflict harm, to cause damage in the relationship. Maybe that wasn't the forefront of your mind, but it was like, I'm angry and you're going to know it.
Well, yeah. And like you said, maybe it's not at the forefront, but you don't mind either. If it is what it is. We always say, well, my brother and I, we have a term that we used to always use. We get down where we get mad at. And that's how harsh startups, they're like that. I'm mad. So we're just about to go right now. I don't care. I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care, but I'm on level 10. we're going to stay at level 10, and that's just how it's going to be.
So you want to avoid that. You want to avoid the hard startup with the soft startup, right? You know, something's bothering you. Instead of the I and you statements, you know, I did this, and then you in response did this, and that made me angry, and blah, 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 and and then it starts to escalate from there. It's more about the soft startup of we. You know, we were having a conversation the other day, and the what we dealt with made me feel some kind of way. And I'd like to discuss it because I think there's some things that need to be addressed. So I said some things need to be addressed. It wasn't I need to fix you or you were wrong. Whatever. It's not about the individual. It's about the situation, the challenge.
Right.
Let the challenge be the challenge. And let's make sure that we have a soft startup as opposed to a harsh startup, particularly if there's something that's bothering you.
Right. You want to make sure that you're starting, hey, can we talk, or something like that. You just don't want to come out there kicking the door in and acting like you're crazy. So there's the four horsemen. Basically it's how you deal with, how you communicate. You're talking about criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and also stonewalling. These are things that allow this, like certain kinds of negativity that just runs rampant, and they are very lethal to your relationship. So it's like, I'm criticizing Lovey for something that went wrong. He in turn gets defensive. Well, you shouldn't have. And or I say, well, you did this, and now he's in defense mode, because defense mode is basically, it's like survival mode if you think about it. You know, I'm protecting myself. And then there's contempt, where, oh, you're not even worth my time, or you're just stupid, or that kind of thing. That's one of the horsemen. And then stonewalling, which is, I'm just gonna, yeah, okay, you're right. Yep. You're right. I'm never gonna say anything. I'm just gonna totally tune you out. I'm stonewalling you. Everything you say is bouncing off that wall, though, that I just,
it was funny
I put up.
When you talk about stonewalling, I think about Coming to America, and the one princess that Akeem did not want to marry, and she was saying, "Whatever you like, always putting it off on him." Right? It's like, whatever you want, sure, fine, whatever you say. But she was doing it in a nice way. But it was one of those things where stonewalling is just, and guys seem to do it more than women do, where we just shut down. It's like, you know what, whatever. That's a perfect example of stonewalling, is when you get the whole whatever scenario.
Yep. And you're just not talking.
Whatever. Okay. What, you know what? That's, because you said so. Let's do it your way. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
I mean, there's that part. And then there's also just totally ignoring the other person. I'm just not going to talk. I'm just not. Nope.
There could be no emotion, no facial changes. Nothing registers on the face at all. You sit there and just staring at the other person. It's almost like, okay, are you there? Hello, McFly. It's that kind of thing. And stonewalling can be a problem. Each one of these, though, each one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and that's what they're called, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Each of them have an antidote.
Yeah. So with this, well, and I just want to say this too. With the four things, that's just all it is just an escalation of the negativity.
Right.
And no one is saying, let's just be clear here, we're not saying that you can't get upset or you're not going to be angry, because anger is going to happen. But being angry is not dangerous. Belligerence is. So there's a difference, Sometimes I get upset, but I'm not all belligerent about it. So with the we talk about the criticism, it's the way you start it up. It's almost like that gentle startup, like the opposite of harsh startup. I'm not going to criticize you for what you did. I'm just going to say, hey, let's talk about this happened. This is how I felt, what have you. And instead of you being defensive or me being defensive, however we're going to, whoever started it, we each take responsibility for our part in what happened. You know what? You are absolutely right. And not saying it to placate, but being very sincere, because that's another thing that we have to do. We have to be sincere when we're talking, and I'm taking responsibility. I'm being excuse me, I'm being very sincere. My contempt, it should not be about how I'm feeling about you. I should be dealing basically describing my own feelings. I'm not going to talk about my partner, oh, because he's stupid or because you're dumb or you're waste of time or what have you. I'm just going to talk about how I felt,
Your own feelings.
my own feelings. Yes, exactly. And then the whole stonewalling thing, it's so important when you, we call it, I won't say we call it, but like take time out. We have a safe word. I think we may have talked about this before. There's a safe word. Once you invoke that safe word, that's like Switzerland. You know, everyone goes to their own corners or the bell ringing. You go to your own corner, you take some time. Okay, let me self soothe so that I will come down, calm down, and I'm not attacking my partner, what have you. And then let's be able to come back together.
Yeah, and and that self-soothing should, it can take the form of a variety of things. It can be a breathing exercise where you sit there and you say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to take 5 really deep breaths, those belly breathing. If you sit there and every time you inhale. So if I was to explain this, when you take a huge breath, it's not just going into your chest. You should feel your stomach. Put one of your hands on your stomach. And as you inhale, your stomach should be pushing your hand out. And then you exhale completely. So that's one way. Sit there, do 5, 6 times, not fast, nice and slow. Best way to do it is to breathe in through your nose, exhale through your mouth, where you sit there and you go, right. And you do that. And what that does is that calms you down a little bit. That's one way. Another way is to sit there because this blood is flowing and the emotions are flowing, and you've invoked the for us, the word is volleyball. We sit there, we say it. You can sit there and tense up your hands for a minute, then let go. Then your arms, then let go, meaning relax. You can sit there and take your legs, stretch them all the way out, you know, tense up your foot, your calf, your thigh, and then let it go. What you're doing is you're getting your blood to flow to different parts of your body, but you're also focusing on each one of those things. So that's another way that you can self-soothe. So there's a variety of ways you can do it. You have to find out what works for you.
I mean, it could be exercising too.
It could be. Let me get away and go for a walk for the next 15
Mhm.
minutes and come back.
Yeah.
So the next one, so that was number 2. The third thing that can actually cause some challenges and really point towards a trajectory towards predicting divorce or problems that can cause a divorce is flooding. So flooding means that your partner's negativity, whether it comes in the form of criticism, contempt, or even defensiveness, those 4 horsemen that we talked about, it's so overwhelming that it leaves you feeling physiologically flooded. That's when that blood is really starting to push towards you. So this is where, like the stonewalling, we talked about physiological self-soothing. You definitely want to incorporate that when it comes to flooding. So the phrase when we say, well, that made me feel some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
That some kind of feeling some kind of way is directly related to flooding. It's a different way of saying it. And that's a great opportunity for you to use the breathing exercise that we talked about with self-soothing. You definitely want to self-soothe. So one of the things that some therapists and some coaches do, if you're face-to-face, we do most everything virtually. So we can't do this, but what you have the opportunity to do is use a pulse oximeter, or you can actually use one of those things that measures your heartbeat. If your heartbeat goes above, like during a conversation, during a session, if the heartbeat goes above 100 beats per minute, it's an indicator that flooding is taking place, because a heart rate is, now it may not be completely visible. You might see it in the person's face as far as, distorting, like little ticks, or all of a sudden they start to, contort their face a little bit because they're getting angry or feeling some kind of way. But your pulse will tell you long beforehand. So if you are in a conversation and you're starting to feel like, okay, my heart's starting to race a little bit, it's a great indicator that you are flooding. And it's an opportunity for you to use that safe word that we talked about. And then you step away and you go through a self-soothing exercise so you can come back, calm down, live to fight another day.
And
Not fight, but live to come back and
literally
have
fight,
that
no.
conversation.
And kind of like what Lovey was saying, certain body languages, um, like you were saying about the heart rate, some the sweating. Sometimes they're sweating. There's, um, I don't know, lack of eye contact, those are signs of distress, and it can make it hard to problem solving. It can make it hard to have problem solving discussions. I know one thing for like with us, um he's called me out on it and he's been correct every time. My body language totally.
Wait. Whatever she's about to say, she said I am correct every single time.
When you call me out on it, yes, because my body language will just, I'll shift. Sometimes I'll do that and I'm just like thinking, oh brother, so
She
here we
does that a
go.
lot.
I'll say oh brother a lot.
No, but the shifting of the
Yeah,
ooh.
so I'm thinking that I'm hiding something. I'm not hiding anything.
You're
I
not.
want to say, we think that, okay, I'm taking a deep breath. Okay, but the way that I'm taking the deep breath, that is indicative of how I'm really, really feeling. And basically, I'm just here to, I'm placating, basically, just like I'm just here. I'm just gonna hear what has to say. In my head, I'm stonewalling because I'm not really letting what he's saying enter into any part of my thought or whatever.
And
I'm
it's
just standing here, and he's just.
I'm Charlie Brown's teacher now.
Yeah, I didn't understand anything. I didn't hear you.
Well, and that breath was like a contemptuous breath.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
I
whatever.
mean,
Yeah, I see it. And look,
and I'm not the only one that does that either.
no,
So.
she's not. Our daughters do it too.
Oh, you do it also. I know you're Shane.
Well, okay. Well, we're talking about body language. One thing that happens is turning towards each other or turning away from each other. When there's an attempt to actually communicate, and there's such a thing as paying attention to, like when we do dyadic treatment or when we're talking to individuals and we get them to talk and reenact or revisit a challenge that they've had in the past that was unresolved. We want to watch how they, the rules of engagement, how they actually interact with each other during arguments. But one thing we take a look for is the turning toward or turning away from. And that means that if you're having an interaction, but when you're talking to each other, you're kind of angling your body away from each other as opposed to turning towards each other, and that warmth, that openness of being focused on each other, that says a lot about that interaction. The goal is to make sure you're turning towards each other, which means that you're open to receiving what the other person's saying. You don't have to agree. And I think there's a miscommunication or misunderstanding in what that means. Just because you receive what someone says doesn't mean you necessarily agree with that person says, but you are receiving it for contemplation, right?
Because I need to consider.
I know she was going to say that. And it's one of those things. Shout out to I Am Dulo for his comedy. If you haven't seen the Dodo Bird, you have to go look it up.
It's the funniest thing.
But that's what we look for. So that's something else to consider. Body language. It's not just the facial expressions. It's not just, the lack of eye contact, but it's also turning to and turning from. So one of the other things is failed repair attempts. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
And I'm looking right at her when I said it. No, failed repair attempts. Repair attempts are efforts that a couple is going to make to de-escalate the tension. Right.
During a discussion.
Right. Exactly. And the failure of these attempts is an accurate marker for an unhappy future together. Meaning, not that you failed,
but if you fail to attempt
to put in a repair.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time now, because I'm a huge fan of hers now, but there's the CEO for Essence Magazine, Caroline Wanga.
Yeah, I wish you just call him girl, because every day he is talking about
she was spitting gems. It was like what she was saying was golden. But one thing she mentioned in this conversation that she had with some colleagues of mine and myself was that she became an expert at failure recovery throughout her life. And like we tell some of the couples that we work with, that is the ultimate goal for us as couples, to become experts at failure recovery. We're going to fail. We're human. We're not going to get everything right. The expectation is that, yes, I'm going to do the best I can and look for the best outcome possible. But there's going to be times where I fail in my communication attempts with Snooks. I'm going to get it wrong. But when we do, I need to be able to recover from it, not linger there and attempt again. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about failed repair attempts, it's not so much that you failed at doing it, it's that you failed to even attempt to repair whatever was done. Mm-hmm. You have to try again. And you can't be so, because here's the bottom line. If you don't give a rip and you just say, I don't even care anymore, then you probably shouldn't be in that relationship any longer. If you've just gotten to the point where it's like, I've got complete disdain for it. My apathy level is so high that I just don't care anymore. I'm done fighting. I'm done, fighting for my relationship. I'm done. Whatever you want to say, you just do. We're just going to cohabitate this space. That is a very bad place to be. And you need to come talk to us or some other coach or some counselor. You need to talk to someone if that's what's going on in your home right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, the last thing too is you talk about bad memories. One thing that I know kind of destroys relationships is the bad memories of the past. It could be of the past that could, because you can't move past something within your relationship, or it could be bad memories from a previous relationship. It was what Erica Badu, Bag Lady. Mm-hmm. You bringing all your stuff from something else into this, but a lot of times we cannot move past what has happened. We hold on to that, and it's almost like a badge of honor to have that bad memory. Well, this is what happened, and this is what you did, or whatever. But you cannot go through it. I want to say you can't move past it because you're still in it. We go through stuff. Shout out to Lisa Nichols. Said you're supposed to go through it, not stay in it. Don't take up real estate in it, but go through it. That means you keep moving. Bad memories will keep you stuck.
I love me some Lisa Nichols.
And
yes.
But so don't let the bad memories of something that happened in the past deter you from being able to move forward in your relationship. Don't let it keep you from having something that's beautiful. Because I'm just going to be honest, those first 4 years, when it came time for us to work on us, I could have stayed in those first 4 years and never moved past them. I could have been like, no, because you did this and you did that. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have those moments where things have happened and we've been hurt and we've been disappointed, but we've also hurt people and disappointed other people too. Don't let that keep you from being able to move, because had I stayed there, we wouldn't be where we are now. You're talking about 20 years later, when we were going through all of that. So
that's true. And so these are the things that predict divorce. Doesn't mean that it's
some of the things that predict divorce.
Yes, yeah. There's others, but these are the ones that have been identified as probably the top 6 that have been the most consistent at predicting. Now, here's the funny thing about predictions. Do predictions always come true?
No.
Nope. And so just because some of these things exist or multiple of these things exist in your relationship does not mean you're going to get a divorce. It does mean that it requires your attention, that you need to find the antidote or the fix, or at least start the conversation to try and find alternative ways of dealing with this. For instance, the body language, we talked about turning from. If you recognize that when you and your spouse are having some conflict and you're turning away from them and looking in opposite direction, not looking at them, not giving them the respect of actually looking at each other, the moment that comes to mind, like, ooh, I'm turning away from, correct it, turn towards. Doesn't mean that's automatically going to fix the challenge, but at least you've changed the environment to where now you're looking at each other. Now you're turning towards each other. That is a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And just like anything else, a marathon is run by doing what? Everyone thinks, oh, running a marathon, 26.2 miles. No, it's one step in front of the other.
In front of the other.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. And we're going to talk more and more about the 4 horsemen in the future and a variety of other things. But this is something we wanted you to really take a look at. And one of the things that you can do on a daily basis by putting one foot in front of the other is doing the little things.
I'm sorry, because there's that song, put one foot in front of the other.
Christmas time.
So now I'm ready to go watch a Christmas movie.
All right. And soon you'll be walking out the door. Anyway. Yeah, we watched a lot of Christmas shows.
I watch Christmas movies all year round because I love Christmas movies, Christmas cartoons.
Okay, so that just threw us off.
I'm sorry.
So the one thing that we want you to do on a daily basis is
I felt like he just criticized me.
No, if you don't have an I can at home for couples, then definitely take what we're saying, what we're offering at this point in the podcast, and adopt it as being your own. So we each pull one of these little things. Think of it as a step. It's an I can statement that we focus on for the week. And so I do this all the time, but I'm going to keep doing it. And it says, I can hold my partner's hand in public.
I do this all the time, and I might not keep doing it. I can cook dinner for my partner.
Oh, no, you want to keep doing that. She does not want her partner to cook dinner because then
so funny.
There will be rebellion in the home.
No, you're fine.
Hey, so as always, we're very thankful for each and every one of you. Please reach out, tell a friend. We're asking each and every one of you to tell one friend about the Married into Crazy podcast and invite them to download and subscribe to the Married into Crazy podcast with Stuckness and Levy wherever they get their podcasts. And we're just about everywhere. As a matter of fact, we've got a major announcement coming up in another week. I should have said at the very beginning. But I will say that, I'll say it now. We've been added to yet another network. So right now, the United States is our number one in 33 different countries. And at this moment, and I'm going to ask you, because I don't even think you know, what is the number 2 country that has the Married into Crazy following?
I think it's India.
Oh, good job. It is. It's India. More than the UK, more than Canada, more than, Germany and Korea. It's funny. We're in some of the places we've never would have guessed that people are listening to the Married into Crazy podcast. But India is our number 2 listenership in the world. And we have just been added to another network, podcast streaming network. And it's called, I'm going to mess it up. It's called Sajavan, I think. The pronunciation, but we've just been at it. We're very thankful to be a part of the network, and I promise I will learn how to say it properly.
I will make him.
Right. So we're very pleased about that, and the goal is to share the things that we're learning, bring the couples that we bring onto the podcast, the interviews, all the collective learnings, if you will, to help each and every one of us have a better relationship, so we can have long-lasting love in our lives.
That's right.
So with that said, until the next time when you bring a friend back with you, be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Stuckness and Levy. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Stuckness and Levy can bless your marriage directly.